everybody, how's it going? Okay, that's enough, you can stop now. Today I'd like to talk about something that we've all had experience with. Teachers, they're just such a strange species, I think the word is? Yeah. Now, the most common type of these species are the boring ones. Boring ones are just so boring. They can make a whole entire class asleep in 5 seconds flat. I'm being serious. If you had a boring math teacher, they'll be like, what does 1 plus 1 equal? And the entire class will reply with snoring. I know that sounds far-fetched, but it is pretty much how it goes. Yeah, I've had my fair share of those, especially during preschool. In fact, whenever I was a kid and I got one, I used to wonder if instead of counting sheep, they would talk about history in bed to get themselves asleep. Leonardo da Vinci was... yeah, like that. Another common type is the preschool ones. Have you ever heard of the phrase, an apple a day keeps the doctor away? There are 2 things about that have stuck with me today. The first one is that I should never eat apples, because my dad's a doctor. And the second is that in preschool, we said a bit differently. It was, an apple a day gives you a good grade. Seriously, if you went up to the most stubborn teacher in the school, gave them an apple, and you would get good grades for the rest of the term. The reason that doesn't happen nowadays is because there was this big argument about kids giving teachers apples. In the end, teachers weren't allowed to have apples on the school. So now the kids give them apples whenever they're about to head home outside school. Yeah. Another thing, have you ever had that kid in your school that was just such a complete smartass? I used to have one of those kids in my school. His name was Dan. With Dan, he would take any chance he could get to humiliate the teachers. There are 2 of them which I really remember the most. The first one was that he was reading a comic book underneath his desk. Sadly, the teacher saw this, took it off him, and yelled, "You'll get this back at the end of the week." And for those who don't know, which is probably most of you, this happened on a Monday. The funny thing about this was that Dan replied, does it take you that long to read it? Yeah, he was just like that during his entire grade. The second one, which I think was probably the funniest. What it was is that he walked up to his science teacher that we had and asked him if he would punish him for something that he didn't do. Now, for most teachers, like him, he replied, no, of course not. Then Dan replied back, great, because I didn't do my homework. Yeah, that was definitely the best one. Yeah. Whoa, would you look at the time? Sorry, folks, so that's all I've got for you now. Good night!